Hey guys, welcome back to the Honda Civic teardown. So at this point we've got the cylinder head off and we're going to just take a couple more things off of it. So if you haven't removed this bracket yet, go ahead and remove it. It's a 14mm socket and there's just 3 bolts holding it on. Okay, next we're going to remove the coolant water passage assembly here. So I believe it's a 12mm socket and a 3/8 extension will help you get in there, and a 3/8 wrench as well will work just fine. I'm using an impact. If you don't have an impact, 3/8 wrench will be just fine. So yeah, remove the bolts. There's 2 on the bottom, and then there's 2 nuts above that, and then 1 more bolt. So there should be 3 bolts and 2 nuts holding it in. Then I'm just using a flat blade screwdriver to pry it apart. There was some silicone and stuff, so you just kind of got to wiggle it back and forth both sides and it'll pop apart. So here's what's going on inside. You can see all these passageways where the coolant flows through. This right here is the engine coolant temperature sensor. So that sends a message to the computer telling the computer how warm the engine coolant is. And you'll get that display on your dash as well. And this one is the radiator fan switch. This is right by the thermostat here. So once the thermostat opens and you've got hot coolant in there, when it reaches 199 degrees Fahrenheit, it will close and it will turn on the radiator fan, cooling down the engine. So that's what that one's for. Okay, awesome. So at this point, I would recommend for most people to bring it to the machine shop now. They'll charge you a little more, but they can remove the valve train for you. It will save you a big headache. Because this next part can be a little tricky. It's just a little higher skilled, just a little tricky in putting it back together. So yeah, if you're ambitious, go for it, and you can do it. I'll show you how right here. But if you want to save yourself a little bit of a headache, you can just pack it up, put it in a garbage bag, and bring it to the machine shop now, or call them and you can get a price and what the price difference is for them to remove the camshaft for you. So yeah, after removing it, then they will do the wash where they'll clean it and check it and stuff like that. So if you want to go for it, I'm going to show you how right now. We're going to go through the steps. Okay, here's the order of removal again, starting with number 1. That's the first bolt you break loose, and they're 10mm sockets. There's 2 on each side on the outside, and then you'll be switching to 12mm sockets for all the rest of the bolts on the inside. For the first pass, just loosen the bolts a couple turns. I'm loosening them just a quarter turn the first time, just to be safe, and then I'll loosen them more the second, just to make sure everything loosens evenly together. So yeah, just go through the steps, follow the order, and yeah, if you loosen them a few turns, that will be fine. And then remove them the rest of the way. Loosen them the rest of the way after that. But keep the bolts in. Don't take them out if you're able to. It will save you a big headache in misalignment of the bearings and the rocker arms there. So yeah, so here I've already switched to the 12mm socket, and I'm just following the order and loosening all the bolts. Then I just switch to the drill here so I can just quickly loosen all the bolts the rest of the way. So just a note here that the bolts on the front of the cylinder head where the cam sprocket goes, they are shorter than the bolts on the other side. So it'll be kind of hard to mix them up, I guess, because they're so short they probably won't even thread in really to the other side. But yeah, just keep them in the right order. And it doesn't really matter for these bolts where they go. They're all the same length for the cam bolts. So that's fine. So again, you don't have to take these bolts out, and it's better if you can leave them in. I was planning to flip over the whole assembly, so I took them out, and I thought it might make it a little easier to wiggle it out, because it's in there pretty tight, because there's liquid gasket on both ends holding it in as well. So you need to pry up on the ends, like you can see on the left there, prying up there. So you just got to be careful. You don't want to scratch it or, pry on anything too hard, but just kind of wiggle and pry up on each end, and then you can kind of break the gasket seal and you'll be able to lift it out. So check inside the bearings and look for any signs of scoring or gouging right in there where my thumb is. You can check all the way along all the bearings like that. Just make sure they're not excessively worn out. Okay, then find a nice clean place where you can store all your parts, store the rocker arms, and also pull the camshaft out and store it somewhere safe as well. It just lifts straight up. Just kind of grab it on the sides and lift straight up. You don't want to really slide it around too much and scuff it up. So yeah, once it's out, it's a good time to change this cam seal right here. So you can just turn it and slide it right off. It'll be the easiest time to change it. So yeah, the open side goes facing on. So you see that kind of is a crevice. It's kind of cut out. And that side goes on that direction, so when you put on your new seal. All right, guys, I will see you in the next video where we will be headed to the machine shop.